Welcome to the Third Win channel. Today we're doing episode 5 of the new iCarly revival series, a review, a reaction, and we've done episodes 1 through 4 already if you want to check those out. But without further ado, I want to tell you that spoiler warning right now, pause if you haven't seen episode 5. And yeah, let's get into it. This episode's called iRobot Wedding, and the synopsis reads, Carly's nemesis Neville invites the group to his wedding, but Carly suspects that the bride isn't what she claims to be. Harper and Spencer wager on who can collect the most phone numbers at the wedding. So, let's go over the plot briefly. The gang is invited to Neville's wedding, and we get a bit of a backstory on Neville, which I'll go over later. There is a pre-wedding gathering where we get some first meetings between Carly and Neville, which are really funny. And this is where a subplot is arranged between Spencer and Harper, where there's a bet on who can get the most phone numbers, which we mentioned in the synopsis. Then, after this first pre-wedding gathering at Carly's apartment, Carly gives her first thoughts to Freddie. They all kind of show off their costumes, and we get some plans and scheming, like Carly taking magnets to see if Brunella is a robot, because, you know, they'll stick if she's metallic. It's a bit bizarre. Then we get the wedding full of twists and turns, where Carly still doubts if Brunella is a robot or not, and then the wedding ceremony is about to happen, and Neville twists it, and Carly becomes the bride, and then Brunella confesses her love to Neville, and then Neville's like, wait a second, I'm loved, and then he loves Brunella, and everything is happy ever after, and we get a Carly and Freddie dance at the end to kind of consolidate it all together, which is amazing. We'll go into more depth when we talk about the characters, which is next, and the only other thing that we get here, which is another subplot we get, is Freddie and Millicent. This subplot, Millicent's kind of protecting Freddie from getting into a new date because she doesn't want to see him sad when it ends up catching fire. So let's move on. Let's talk about our characters and what we've seen from each of our characters in this episode. I have the characters on the left, but let's go in depth on each of our characters. First up, we got Carly. Carly still dislikes Neville. She makes that kind of clear in the beginning. She wants to appear, you know, happy and good to make him kind of, I don't know, not jealous, but she wants to, her social appearances have been important in every one of these episodes. She's always like, she wants to appear happy even though she's been through this breakup. She wants to kind of impress people. Although she ends up always kind of embarrassing herself. In this episode, for example, she thinks that Brunella's a robot, which makes her look ridiculous, but classic Carly, and I think it's really funny. She ends up being the bridesmaid by setup by Neville, and of course, this is where all the robot doubts come into play. For example, making her check a CAPTCHA and seeing if she'll answer. She questions her like eye movements. She throws the magnet at her forehead and it sticks, and a battery pack falls out. But all of these things are explained, and it almost feels like bullying from Carly, but it comes off as quite funny, honestly. I mentioned already that Carly gets kind of trapped by Neville, but it's not really too intense, but it is still very funny how they bring back the Neville thing. And I like how at the beginning they mention Neville trying to kiss Carly. Here it's literally Neville trying to marry Carly, which I think is a super appropriate way to step it up for the adult version. Lastly, I want to mention that I feel like we got some more cruddy build up in this episode with Carly and Freddie kind of dancing at the end, and Freddie kind of helping her throughout this episode and getting a lot of one-on-one time. For all us cruddy fans, I think it's quite exciting. Next, let's talk about Freddie. So, Freddie, we get some details about the divorce from Millicent. His second wedding with Millicent's mom lasted 14 months, and we also get to know that Freddie is quite emotional because Millicent is very aware of how sad he gets after these breakups. He is the best man of Neville, although Neville does say that he never really liked Freddie at the end. It was just for the plan, which is quite sad. Also, Freddie is such a great friend to Carly, which raises questions like, is Freddie like a best friend after Sam or after Harper, or is this just a show about Carly's friends? You know, interesting. Also, Freddy does get hit on by a girl who turns out to be an actress, which is so funny considering what happened last episode where Spencer hires him an escort. And also, yes, I put credit question mark here as well. You know, what are Freddy's intentions of this? It seems like when he asks Millicent at the end of the episode, like, "Oh, should I go dance with Carly?" Like almost like it doesn't seem like a friend thing. I don't know. I think that Freddy is still deeply in love with Carly, and that's why his marriages haven't worked out. That's just my theory. Some extras from Freddy. I love the robot romance line with what would you say? Something about Wally. It's so funny. And also really nice costume. I thought it was really nice. Next, let's talk about Spencer. Spencer and Harper, which I have her back to back. They have a subplot, but they really don't see much growth in this episode. They just kind of do their own thing. But yeah, he challenges Harper to see who can get the most phone numbers, and surprise, surprise, he loses. But he still gets 8 phone numbers. He's still got it, but we see that the way he's picking up the one was by exploding his wealth, just saying, "Hey, I'm rich and famous," and apparently that works quite well for him. Although I do like to see the chemistry between him and Harper. I think that's a fun little thing, like how they're both kind of um, good with the dating. And extra, I love the thunder and lightning machine when whenever Neville's name was mentioned twice, and then at the end, his name was mentioned and the lightning went off anyways. Really funny. I chuckled a bit there. But yeah, that's Spencer for this episode. Harper, even less to say. I guess she confirmed that she's bi. She's good at getting numbers. She doesn't love weddings, she mentions, and she has. I think I'd give her the award for the most kind of stylistically well done costume. Props to her. Moving on, Millicent, we get some much needed character development with her caring about her father, with her protecting her father, not only from moths flying into his mouth, as is revealed. She also says that she admires Neville for making Carly the way that she is, a little distressed. I thought that was funny as well. And she shows that she's on a mission. She is kind of on a mission in every episode. She always has a goal, which I think Millicent is going places in the long term. And that just keeps getting reassured. I do like that we get to see a bit of a softer version of Millicent, a less mean version of Millicent. And a little bit of an extra thing from Millicent, we get her going around in Heelys, which I think is really fun. Bring them back. They're great. Why not? Next, we got Neville, and boy, am I happy Neville's back. I thought uh, an episode with Neville, it just can't go wrong, right? Some of the best episodes of iCarly were with Neville, and we get a backstory, which I made sure to write down. Spencer goes, Neville wrote a terrible review of iCarly, then hacked the website, and then tried to force Carly to kiss him, and trapped Freddy in a robot costume. And then Harper goes, "That's not worse." And I thought that was so funny because that was my reaction when I rewatched the original iCarly series. Like, this isn't so bad. He just got put in a robot costume and kind of lifted up and down into the ball pit. That's fine. But I thought that was funny, and I love that they brought it back and kind of told maybe the newer audience what he did. But I love that he's also still I say little, but he's still an evil little genius. You know, he put this whole plan together. He got the actors together. He's probably still rich. He's probably still running Nevelocity.com. The Carly trap was classic. I love it. He finds love? Question mark. I doubt that will last. Knowing Neville, we've seen his kind of um, emotions towards old men who run over his foot with a wheelchair, or little girls that take the last jar of pickles that he likes. So I think that something will go down, and he will probably end up not with Brunella anymore. Who knows? He also hired actors for the trap, which I thought was so funny because that means that yes, A, the girl was never into Freddy, and B, Carly didn't. Carly thought that the actor was Neville's mom, but she would know that it wasn't, and Neville brings that up, and I think it's so funny. Extra, he's really into a game called Robot Uprising, and that's why the whole wedding is themed that way. And number two, I love this. This is my favorite line so far in the show. I bet. He goes like, "Carly Shay, I bet you rue the day you let me get away." The way he delivers it is very Neville. I can't do it, of course, but it's amazing. I love that line. And then that's it for our characters. Let's get into some Easter eggs. Of course, we get Neville back from the original, which is amazing. I think that, I mean, I'll get into this later, but I think this is one of my favorite episodes just because of that. Then we get a Mr. Roboto mention with Carly making a little joke. I thought that was really good. We get a Wally joke from Freddy. We get a Daft Punk's inspired costume from Spencer. We get Miss Papperman. I should say Papperman. And I think that's also brilliant, but it's an actress, but the vibe is still there. We get a Healy mention. I know that's not really a mention, but it's it's a thing that's kind of like back in the iCarly days, Heelys were actually popular. We get, I mean, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but the wedding thing, it was done in the original iCarly series in an episode called I Do, and I think that the writers saw this and maybe they wanted to bring it back. I think they did mention it maybe once in the episode, but I thought that was interesting. And then we, of course, we get Neville's backstory, which I mentioned earlier. So those were our Easter eggs for this episode, and now let's get into some analysis. This is the last portion of this video, so it's almost over, guys. No worries. First off, Carly's behavior thing. I've kind of spoken about her already in previous videos, and previously in this video I mentioned how she's really worried about how people see her, and that's, I don't know what that really is, but yeah, I think that this is much more exaggerated than was in the original series. She was always kind of tried to shy away from being embarrassed or all this, but it's really intense here, and I'm excited to see where it'll go on from here. Next, we got Freddy and Millicent. I love the development we've saw between these two, and how they actually, like, at first it appeared like they were all only fighting, but it seems like they have a bit of a healthy relationship, to be honest. Although Freddy could be a better father, more stern. Next, we got Freddy and Carly. So, what's really going on between these two? I think there's something really brewing. You know, what are their feelings towards each other? Does Freddy still have feelings for Carly? I think the credit thing is going to happen eventually. Season 2, end of Season 1. It's getting there. Next up, I think that in a similar fashion to like Nora or any of the characters that have been introduced in every episode, I think this is the way they'll write off Neville. It's a great write-off. He gets married, a happy ending, and a fantastic write-off for Neville. But I do kind of think like this is the showrunners writing Neville off, like, here you go, friends, and he got a happy ending. But they did it well. They get props for it. But I do think it's the last time we see Neville for at least a long time. Where is the web show? Where is it? Like, seriously, like, we haven't seen the web show in 2 or 3 episodes now. No mention of it. Isn't that what the show is supposed to be? Kind of the web show coming back. No web show. Okay, I hope we see it next episode. Next up, and this is a smaller point, but I think Spencer is a little less likable in the revival. His rich self is kind of snobbier, and I always saw the original Spencer as not so interested in money and more kind of invested in his relationships and art and whatnot. So this Spencer is quite different, I think, and not a lot of people are talking about that. But I still love Spencer, it's just a little less likable. And I just want to mention lastly that this episode of iCarly felt a lot like iCarly. It felt like the original series. Maybe it was because Neville was back. This is part of the reason why I liked the second episode. That one also felt a lot like iCarly, and Nora was in that episode. So whatever they did in episode 2 and 5, keep doing it. It feels like the original iCarly, but like evolved into like an adult form. And these are the episodes that I really enjoy. We get a lot of character development here too. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. This has been the Third Wind channel. Make sure you check out our other reviews, and we make loads of iCarly content, both from the original series and the new series. We make other Nickelodeon content, if you like Victorious, Zoe 101, What Be It. We make plenty of videos, but stay tuned for the next episode, the episode 6 review coming next week. And let me know if you prefer this style of video. Those who have watched all of them, No, sometimes I edit and sometimes I don't. This time I didn't, so I want to know what you guys prefer. Let me know in the comments if you've seen all the way up till now, but that's it for now. I've been talking for way too long. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.